Illuminae by Kristoff and Amie Kaufman. This is a science fiction novel set amongst the stars. It is the first part of a trilogy, and while I thought it was really good and really engaging, there are some things about it that hold it back from being 5 stars for me. I'm going to explain why, keeping it non-spoilers. I will give a heads up before I get into the spoiler portion, so if you want to hear me gush about the things I like and the things I didn't like, stick around for that. Otherwise, I'll give you a timestamp when the time comes. Just get past it to my final thoughts. So first, I want to talk about the mixed media presentation of this book. I highly recommend getting it in physical form because it's set in interviews, case files, logs, intercepted transmissions. It's all part of the presentation of the novel, and I think it's pretty integral to how things play out. This covers a bunch of POVs. It goes everything from chat rooms to an AI's thoughts. It's very cool and it's very well done. So if you can get this physically, I highly recommend you doing so. I'm trying to find you some really impressive pages without spoiling anything for you, but you can just see how the formatting, they play with it to really hammer home whatever is going on. So it's pretty cool. I really recommend you getting it physically. However, that being said, I did not just do it physically. I also got the audiobook because the audiobook is a full cast presentation. You have a lot of POVs going on here, a lot of different characters voicing. And when you are looking at a chat room, you just have the person's name and then their dialogue. It's really cool to have a full cast presentation, so every character gets their own voice actor. It's really well done, and I actually read it while I listened to it, and it really doubled the immersion for me to be both reading this mixed media thing and having a full cast presentation. I thought it was really cool, really engaging. Here's another cool picture of the artwork. It's just really cool. 10 out of 10 for presentation for Illuminae. Really nicely done. I think a highlight for me of the voice acting there's this one chat room scene where Ezra is drunk and the voice actor just really plays with it, and I think it was really cool. So if you can get both, I definitely recommend that. The science fiction part of this book is only part of it. There's also a really strong romance to this book, and at first I wasn't quite into it, but then as the book went along and they developed more according to the stressors of the situations they were in, I really found myself rooting for them more. And by the time it ended, I was fully on board. Around halfway, I was invested, and then 3/4 of the way through, I was like, yes, you two, go. So if you like romance in your science fiction, I think you'd like this book for that. So what held the book back from being 5 stars for me was the humor. Sometimes it was really good, but I feel like in the beginning, it felt like the novel wasn't quite sure what it was going to be at the very beginning, or at least I wasn't sure what the novel was going to be. It opened up with this juxtaposition of humor and destruction. And I'm like, cool, that's nice. But it didn't continue that way. The humor was really only a giant factor in the first quarter of the book, so I feel like it set up my expectations to be more lighthearted and more jokey. I went into it kind of with that mindset, and then it doesn't stay that way. The book is very much a hard-hitting story of sacrifice, desperation, selflessness, and it hurts. There's a lot of tragedy and death in this book, and if you're go into it, with that first quarter's expectation of, lighthearted romp of romance and just jokes and witty banter. That's not what this book is. So I felt a little misled, and I felt like it's really important for the first part of your book to be representative of the rest of the book. And I feel like Illuminae stumbled coming out of the gates. It really picks it back up, and I really liked it going on from there. But I do feel like we misestablished the tone in the beginning. So that's probably 3/4 of the reason why I didn't give it 5 stars. The other reason why I knocked off a little bit of points for it was the ending. And I'm going to talk about this more in the spoiler part of this review. There's nothing wrong with the ending, but I'm not sure if I like it. So I'll talk about that more later. The last thing I say before I get into the spoiler version of this review is I like the amount of research that the author put into this. I'm not sure if everything hacker related is accurate. It felt accurate. That's not my expertise. I can say that all the medical stuff that we went through felt very cool. It felt very, it's sci-fi. You can't totally say it's realistic, but it felt representative of what could happen. I wasn't reading it and going, okay, I really need to suspend my disbelief here. I need to just turn my brain off and just enjoy things. No, it felt pretty cool. It felt like it could happen. I was getting scared for these characters. I really appreciated that. I really appreciated the realism that the authors were attempting to put in their story about AIs and space and all this other kind of stuff. So thank you to the authors. So now I'm going to go ahead and get into the spoiler portion of this review. You can go ahead and jump to the timestamp here to skip past it and get to my final thoughts. So spoilers in 3, 2, 1. I don't know how I feel about that ending. So there has been so much sacrifice going on. You know, Katie has sacrificed herself by throwing herself back on the Alexander, putting herself at the mercy of all the afflicted. The nukes are about to go off. Aiden is clearly dying, both from the axe strokes and the nuclear warheads. Ezra's already established as dead. Everyone we know is dead or dying. And then there's this beautiful act of self-sacrifice, and everyone's fine. Like, you know, Aiden, oh, he can grow himself back from the seed. Ezra, oh, Aiden was lying all along. He's secretly alive and fine. Katie got lucky and she survived. Like, oh, everything's cool and they're back together. Happy ending. She's going to bring down the corporation. Woo! I guess it's necessary to bring up the trilogy, but honestly, I would rather have preferred it end as a single novel with her sacrifice being upheld. I'm okay with Ezra. I am fine with Ezra being alive, because Aiden's already lied about Ezra a few times by this point. You know, he lied about Ezra being alive and chatting when Aiden was secretly chatting. So I'm okay with Ezra being secretly alive. I like it. I like the idea of Katie's self-sacrifice, Aiden's self-sacrifice, and then Ezra in this bittersweet moment of tragedy being like, oh, Ezra's still alive, and he's the one who gets the pad, and he's the one who swears, like, I will get these secrets out there, you know? And I'm also fine with it being Baytek, who is the one getting all the records that we've seen in this book. Like, I kind of suspected it, especially as the book went along. I'm like, this book is such a downer. Like, everything that can go wrong goes wrong. So who would be the worst person to get this information out to? And I was like, oh, it's Baytek. You know, the corporation's going to cover this all up. They're just going to delete it. And I'm fine with that. I don't know. It just felt like, by having Katie survive, it felt like we were just churning everything last minute to being like this, yay, and everything's fine, happy ending, when it's like, no, these sacrifices should be upheld. I still liked it. Like, I liked that Katie was alive. I'm glad that she, like I said earlier, I was rooting for her and Ezra, so I'm glad that they ended up together and happy and that they could take down the system. I'm intrigued by the sequel, but it just felt like a bit of a cop-out that everyone got lucky at the last minute when nothing had been lucky before. I would kind of have rather it ended on a downer note, but with this note of Ezra's going to go out and he's going to fight, he's going to get the information out there, even though Baytek has the recording, he has what was on the tablet. Like, that would be fine by me, but instead it felt a little cheap by having everyone survive. So I don't know if I like that or not. The art, I felt, got so cool near the end. Like, I loved the space battle artwork where, you know, you could see the ships, like the text where the ships zooming through space. I liked how, you know, when Ezra shot his logic bomb, you know, there were the spirals of text coming out, like starburst patterns. I really liked when she's hopping along the exterior of the ship, the text is her bouncing on the ship. There's just a lot of moments where I feel like the mixed media presentation really shone, and I'm really glad to see that. I really enjoyed it. The bit with Mikhail Karlin, Chatter, and Sierra Bull, like, that got me. There are a lot of moments in this book that got me, but when they're talking, they're flirting, they're talking about poetry, and then he's like, oh, this is so sweet. I'm glad we could find a moment of happiness amid all the tragedy. And then it's like, wait, what? Someone's infected with you? Lieutenant, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And then the next thing you see is this cold transmission of initiate purge, open airlock, purge successful. It's just like, oh, she just killed them all. There are a lot of moments like that, like the gut punching moments, which is why earlier I felt like the light jokey tone established in the first quarter of the book was misrepresentative of the rest of the piece, because it's not lighthearted. There is so much tragedy and desperation and trauma in this book that I felt misled, and I didn't like it. I am a little bit disappointed that Phobos Beta devolved into space zombies. Like, I was really intrigued by the thought of this virus moving around the closed quarter system. I liked how it was mutating, and then it was just like, oh, they're zombies. And I was like, oh, that's fine. I mean, it worked. It was cool, but that's something that kind of held me back from being 5 stars as well. I mean, they weren't totally zombies. They could still talk, and I'm glad that they could do that. They were still them. They had just gone crazy. So that led to some good character moments with Dorian, with Zhang, and I liked that, but I still think that them being zombies was a little bit cliche. It worked for what it was, and I'm glad nobody said the Z word, but it was still a little bit iffy for me. I do like that they kept calling them the Afflicted, though. So they were cool. They were just like missing something, I think, to really push them apart from space zombies. I loved the slow descent into madness as Phobos continues, and even before Phobos, you know, like as the with the threat of the Lincoln looming. I like how everyone's panicking. I like how the military was getting desperate and starting like shooting people who were going to spread the truth of things. I liked the desperation filling this novel, and especially near the end when they were giving you the transcript, the recording of how many people have died since leaving the planet, and how many % of them are afflicted with Phobos Beta. Like seeing those numbers rise as a factor of Aiden's meddling, as, you know, everyone just slowly dying or leaving Alexander. Like, it was tragic. I really enjoyed it. This was a good book. When this book is good, this book is really good. Who would like this book? I think if you like science fiction, if you like romance, I think you would like this book. If you're looking for a lighthearted romp, I don't think you'll like this book. Like, some of this is funny-ish, like, ish. Some of this is funny. And like, it opens up with humor. For example, she broke up with me 2 hours before the invasion, and sure, the story kicks off with the deaths of thousands of people, but God forbid it has cussing in it, right? Like, some of it's funny, but it's not all funny. So if you're looking for a lighthearted romp, I don't think this is for you. I think if you like romance, if you like science fiction, if you like desperation, if you like stories of AI and their interactions and wondering what does it mean to be sentient, I think you would like this book. There are a lot of things about this book I like. There are some things that I didn't like. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the beginning. I thought the beginning and the ending were iffy, but the rest of it, all that middle bit, was really nice. So all in all, 4 stars. Illuminae, very fun ride. I don't know whether I'll check out the sequel. I'm not really sure where there is to go from here. It was so tightly packed aboard the Alexander, the Hypatia. So I don't know. We're gonna have to see. Let me know down in the comments if you know of any great science fiction works that you think are worth reading. I would love to continue more on this science fiction bend. And until next time, I hope you have a great day. And remember that every day is a gift. And I hope you find something in your day that'll help you smile. Bye for now.